Chiron in astrology is the wounded healer. And as much as we tend to be drawn to learn and study and read up on this Chiron wound, there's not quite as much information out there on what to do about it. So I wanted to dedicate this whole video on how to work with Chiron. Chiron in the astrology chart represents our greatest wound. It is the thing we want the most, but we tend to block ourselves from having it because we're so sensitive to the pain that comes along with that area of life. What most of us experience when it comes to Chiron is that we have a greater sensitivity to that area of life. We also tend to place more importance on that thing. And we also tend to personalize the challenges of that area of life. So someone with Chiron in Gemini will really care about when they're misunderstood. It will be very important to that person when they are misunderstood or their words are misconstrued. Someone with Chiron in the, let's say the 4th house is going to take it more personally when they feel like they don't belong. And this is probably going to play out in their family. So not only do you have some kind of block or pain or struggle in that area of life, it means something to you when you can't have the thing of that house or sign. My favorite example of this is my own Chiron in the 10th house. People with Chiron in the 10th will say, well, I'm no millionaire, but, or I'm not rich or famous, but... And then when I ask them, do you want to be rich or famous? They're like, no. So it's like, even if you don't want that thing and you don't care about it, it means a lot to you if you don't have it. What we experience with Chiron is that we feel blocked in that area. It means more to us that we don't have that thing. And we tend to be really sensitive to it and personalize it. Usually what this means is we tend to shut ourselves off from that area of life in some way because it's too painful. So the way to transcend the Chiron wound has to do with letting it be okay that that area is going to be a little bit painful and moving toward that energy, going through the wound, but having the right tools to do so. So we're not just, ripping off the Band-Aid over again and re-wounding ourselves. So now let's talk about how to work with Chiron. How to go through the wound. So the first thing we want to always do is to figure out what it really means. The first step is to learn what your Chiron really means, because there's something actually quite cathartic, quite helpful, and acknowledging when you hear in words a pattern or an energy you've lived out over and over. In words you would not have used yourself to describe it. It can be very helpful and give you a lot of insight into something that is actually has a name, if that makes sense. So for example, people with Chiron in the 9th house, the wound is of belief and of faith. So people with Chiron in the 9th will tend to be able to help everyone else to see that they're on the right path and have faith and feel like they are having this meaningful life, but sometimes they feel blocked from it themselves and they feel kind of shut off from God. What happens when you don't know that it's Chiron is you just kind of go through life feeling like this thing always happens. So when you have words to put to it, sometimes that gives you a framework and an awareness that you can use the next time that comes up. Now you know that is that Chiron wound. Now you know what that energy is. And sometimes we don't know what it's like not to be us, right? Sometimes we don't know the difference between life in our problems, our natural challenges, and life for other people. So having those words put to it, having that awareness, not to confine us to tell that story over and over and how stuck we are. No. But to give us that connection, to give us enough of a definition of what we experience to help us see it when it does come up so we can practice the next steps. The second step is now to see how do you block yourself in the area, the sign and the house where you have Chiron, because this is something that we don't usually realize we're doing. We're just having this knee-jerk reaction to pain. And when we have a knee-jerk reaction to pain, again, we don't always know we're doing it. So when we can see how our actions, our attitudes, our reaction to the wound it will cause it to be worse. Okay, so let's take Chiron and Gemini, for example, on this. The wound here is to being misunderstood. So what does the person with Chiron and Gemini do? Do you think they talk more? Do you think they explain things more? Only sometimes. Sometimes they will over-explain because they're so used to being misunderstood, but usually the person with Chiron and Gemini's natural reaction to being so completely misunderstood is to shut down and not speak anymore. And sometimes the reaction of the person with Chiron in the 7th house of relationships, of partnerships, is to shut off from love and say, love is so hard, I don't want to do it anymore. Or shut down from their partner because they're expecting to be rejected, so why even try? And the same with the 9th, to shut down from God. With the 4th, Chiron in the 4th, to shut down from your family because you're going to be the one who doesn't belong, so why even be around them anyway? Now, these are extreme examples, but I bet if you think of it in this simple framework, you can probably see how you have at some point in your life shut down from the thing that Chiron represents to protect yourself. And we need to be able to see this so in the future we can, not do that. And the third thing that you can do when you work with Chiron is to depersonalize the wound. One of the symptoms of Chiron by sign and house is that we take it very personally when that happens. The Chiron and Gemini person takes it personally when they're misunderstood. It becomes personal, even if that misunderstanding is like an everyday thing that normally always happens. The person with Chiron and Gemini, because of their history, they're going to feel like it's happening to them. So when we can be aware that we have a tendency to personalize this thing and consciously choose to depersonalize it by realizing, maybe that happens to everyone. Maybe it's not just me. That can actually kind of neutralize the wound because remember, part of the Chiron wound is that we have a lot of importance placed on that thing. Now, those are my top 3 ways to work with Chiron, regardless of whatever your Chiron is by sign or by house. 1 is to really understand what it is, to give you a mental framework to work with it. 2, see how your reaction to that wound is stopping you from living life, from connecting with people, from feeling, all there is to the different facets of life. Chiron is where we tend to stop ourselves so much from all of the good things that come with that thing or that situation that we're missing. You're missing. To see what you are missing is part of step 2. And then step 3, to consciously depersonalize, to catch yourself when you're taking it personally, when someone maybe doesn't listen to you, or when you, Chiron and Cancer, don't get enough nurturing, or you feel like people don't care. See how you are personalizing it and then choose to kind of baby step yourself into not personalizing the wound. So if you want more on this, I'm actually doing this course on the gift of Chiron by sign, and the gift of Chiron is only accessed when we go through the wound. So this course is to help you learn exactly what all these symptoms of Chiron are for every sign of the zodiac. So click the link below to join it and comment below. Share with us if you feel comfortable, how you feel about your Chiron. Do you feel like you know this wound really well? Do you know exactly what it is? And does it come up often? Have you started to find tools? Share in the comments if you want to, any kind of tip or tool that you have for working with your Chiron placement. And thank you all so much for all the love and the support you send my way, for everything you do to help this channel grow. You guys are incredible, and I appreciate you so much, and I will see you all in the next video.